Hi, this is Chelsea, a counsellor working for the Employee Resilience Company. I'm going to speak to you about grounding yourself within a storm. I thought this metaphor was fitting for work and personal life, whether this be a storm external to us, such as COVID or work stresses, or whether the storm be internal, such as grief or anxiety. We can find balance and control through grounding. Working for an EAP, people often tell me they're too busy for self-care and strategies for distress tolerance. I chose grounding because of its immediacy and flexibility. This can be anything from one big, deep, grounding breath before going into the next meeting to sitting outdoors for 5 minutes after a difficult day. Grounding can be the difference between a manageable day or one where we feel overwhelmed and lie awake worrying. In essence, grounding is distraction from the madness of our own minds, centering ourselves within the moment. It can be very easy to be consumed by thoughts, stresses, and plans. Grounding techniques are strategies used to focus on the here and now, to bring ourselves back from painful emotions like anger, resentment, or sadness, away from thoughts of the past and the future, and away from the stresses of the day, back to the present moment, which is where our control lies. So I am going to discuss with you the why, how, where, and when of grounding. I'll start with the why. Grounding can be a form of healthy detachment from unhelpful thought processes and painful emotions. We can detach from those thoughts and feelings and center ourselves within a moment, be it to manage that moment or to enjoy it. During times of heightened stress, we can become emotionally reactive. The children argue back and we shout. The manager says, "Can I have a chat later?" and we become anxious. We're asked to fill in for a colleague who's late and we become angry and resentful. We may ruminate on the situation. I wonder why my manager needs a chat. What exactly were the words they used? And did anyone overhear? We may then catastrophize. I wonder if I'll get fired. How will I get another job? And what if I can't pay my bills and lose my home? Grounding brings our minds away from the emotional response and the thoughts of past and future towards the neutral, the here and now, what's actually happening rather than these imagined and relived scenarios. During busy personal or working days, we may revert to an autopilot, whereby upon completion of one task we move straight on to another. This may be effective in the moment, but can mean a build-up of stresses and reduced resilience. We may carry the thoughts and feelings of the last interaction into the next. For example, we may go into a meeting thinking of a recent conflict with a colleague. This can feel overstimulating, foggy, and difficult to navigate that meeting. We may then carry these thoughts home, and they come flooding into our minds at quiet times in the day, like when we're trying to sleep or spend time with our family. In that moment, we're walking through the wind, trying to get to our destination while the wind fights against us. Grounding doesn't get rid of the stress and anxiety around this conflict, but does allow us an opportunity to calm, focus, and return to the situation with a clearer mind. It allows us to process events as they arise and explore how we feel. So rather than getting swept away with the wind that is thoughts, feelings, and memories, we're centered. We're attending to one thing at a time, and we're able to manage additional gusts which are trying to throw us off balance. I want to emphasize that grounding is not a way of avoiding emotions and pain. It's important to pay attention to thoughts and feelings that are sending us a message. However, when it comes to unhelpful thinking styles like rumination and catastrophizing, or unhelpful behaviors such as autopilot and emotional reactivity, grounding in this case is a form of healthy detachment. You're choosing to let go of these anxious and emotionally loaded thoughts and focus on a task or strategy. This leaves you feeling clearer and less burdened with thoughts, emotions, and stresses. You can then function more efficiently and protect your well-being. Just in case I'm not selling grounding enough, I wanted to list some of the benefits. As we know, grounding can help manage and process the stresses of the day, so we're less likely to carry them home. It can also be a helpful technique to avoid worrying at night. Grounding brings our focus onto a task and takes control back over our thought processes, rather than the thoughts taking the driver's seat, and before we know it, we're a few hours in, unsure of how we got here. As a result, we're better able to sleep. While stressed, we're often juggling many situations, thoughts, and tasks. We're with one patient thinking about the last and the next. By doing one thing at a time, we're better able to manage stress and anxiety. We're calm, balanced, and less likely to react on these emotions we're holding. As a result, we're more focused and concentrated. We work more efficiently because our attention is solely on the task ahead, and we're better able to listen and retain information. Finally, being stressed and anxious impacts us physically. We're sick in the stomach, heart racing, or lethargic, to name a few. Grounding has physical health benefits, and arguably the most important benefit of all is finding more joy in a moment. These benefits are because we're giving ourselves the tool to manage the storm, rather than hoping we get through without being blown away. Grounding exercises are any technique which helps to center and ground you. You may create your own little tips and tricks for what works for you at a specific time. As an example, when I start ruminating before I go to sleep, I catch the thoughts and picture my safe space. I'll use the example of a childhood home, but this will be personal to you. Where's your safe space? While visualizing this, you may open the door, picture each room. What's on the tables and what colors are the walls? Move around the room. You could pick something up. Or your safe space may be outdoors. Try feel the breeze. This technique was shared to me by someone else and helps keep me away from rumination. Grounding exercises can be split into environmental or physical exercises, which I'll discuss first. This might include finding 5 blue things in the room, holding a grounding object such as a cup of tea and feeling the warmth and comfort of that object. Or it could be the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. The body part images and numbers in this slide highlight how to do this technique, and I encourage you to follow it with me. First, look around for 5 things you can see. Now try to list 4 things you can feel or touch. What are 3 things that you can hear? Now try to think of 2 things you can smell. And finally, 1 thing you can taste. If you choose to do this technique in future, remember, it doesn't matter too much of the order of these senses, but rather a way of engaging with our senses and grounding through environmental cues. This is a subtle technique that you can do anywhere at any time, in a queue, out for a walk, waiting for an appointment. Another type of grounding is internal. This includes body awareness and maybe a body scan, where you pay attention to different parts of your body starting from the toes to the head. Or it could be a check-in. What am I thinking? What emotions are present for me? And how am I feeling physically? A very common form of grounding technique is deep breathing, whether that be 3 big deep breaths or a specific technique, such as breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and out for 8 seconds. Deep breathing sends signals to your brain that everything's okay and activates the parasympathetic nervous system. The final form of grounding technique is mental exercises. This can be anything from listing things within a category, friends characters, logos beginning with S, anything you choose. Or you might choose visualization, picturing something you're working towards, for instance. Finally, you may repeat an empowering statement, such as I can do this, I am successful, I am worthy. Anchoring statements are personal to you and reflect who you are and the values that are important to you. It might be something like, I'm considerate, motivated, and powerful. This reflects who you are at your core, and you can make choices that align with this statement. You could have one go-to grounding exercise or a collection of different strategies that work for you in different scenarios. Perhaps you could make a grounding sheet. Please remember, it's difficult to identify and respond with grounding. It may be challenging. Our minds like to wonder, worry, and plan, and we may resist the technique. But try to think of it as a muscle which needs exercising. It will become stronger and easier over time. There are only 2 steps in grounding: awareness and response. You may try to notice when your mind is overwhelmed, or noticing thoughts of past and future. Alternatively, you may want to think of some opportunities ahead of time. Take a moment and think about these opportunities, however brief, to ground yourself. Will it be while you brush your teeth? Will it be in between patients or in between calls? Will you choose to ground yourself when your child's telling you about their day? You could use their voice as a point of focus and be fully present in what they're saying. Or will you ground yourself during some of the most stressful points of the day? Remember, these sorts of techniques can take as little as 10 seconds. You can offer yourself a grounded moment, right? You may choose to have a few go-to techniques. It might be breathing and the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Or you may choose a grounding exercise based on what your body needs in that moment. It may be body awareness in the morning after a bad night's sleep, an anchoring phrase before work, deep breathing in between patients, and visualization before sleep. Different exercises work at different times. We've covered a lot of information today, and I would encourage you to listen to the video again. You'll likely hear parts you missed the first time, or maybe understand it differently. I want to thank you for all your hard work. Please remember to equip yourself with the tools and strategies that ground you within your storm, whatever that may be. Perhaps after the video ends, you could think of some grounding techniques that you could implement into your day. And when would you implement them? Thank you for your time. Take care of yourself. Bye.